Okay, sorry guys. Here we go. So I'm going to share my screen with you. So we're doing a new topic today. Okay, the topic is going to be about bugs in food. And it's very important topic, somewhat controversial because, again, many poskim have different approaches. Some rabbis swear off all, leafy vegetables or fruits altogether. Again, we need to be mindful that there are those opinions that agree. But let's take a look around and see what these um, what these concepts are all about. So first, we're in Vayikra, general prohibitions covering all types of bugs and insects. There are two prohibitions. One is Vayikra Yod Aleph Mem Gimel Al Teshakesu et Nafshotechem. Right, l'shaket means something really disgusting or vile. Don't make your nefesh vile. Bechol hasheretz hashoretz, any creepy crawler that crawls around. V'lo titameu bahem v'nitmetem bam, and do not become impure by them and make yourself perforce impure. So we see lo al teshaketzu v'lo titameu. So these are really heavy words describing how bad it is not only to ingest bugs, but also how we have to stay far away from them when it comes to food and food prep. We also see that these are sins that are deoraita and from the Torah. So this is not a made-up humrah, has v'shalom. This is in the Torah to make sure that nobody ingests any of these bugs or / creepy crawlers. We see again in Vayikra Yod Aleph, Yod to Yod Aleph, again, different types of these creepy crawly bugs and things that have the title of a sheretz. A sheretz, you could also interpret sheretz as vermin. That's another commonly used word for sheretz. But usually we say sheretz hashoretz al haaretz means that a creepy crawler that crawls on the land. That last piece that crawls on the land is actually going to have ramifications in halacha, which we will see. So let's look at Vayikra Yod Aleph Yod to Yod Aleph. V'chol asher en lo senapir v'kaskeset bayamim. Anything that doesn't have fins or scales in the oceans, in the waters, ubanehalim, in the streams, mikol sheretz hamayim. These are called sheretz hamayim. These are the crawlers of the waters. Umikol nefesh haya asher b'mayim. Anything that's alive in the water. Sheket hem lachem. If it doesn't have fins and scales, it is shaket. It is now shikutz. It is distant. You must distance yourself from it. It should be viewed as repulsive by you. Yod Aleph sheketz yu lachem mibesaram lo tochelu ve'et nivlatam teshaketzu. Right, it means that get away from them. Don't eat any of their flesh, and they should be as a nevela, nivlatam teshaketzu. Right. So again, we need to make sure that we're staying far away. The reason why I brought this source is that it applies to things that creep and crawl also in the land, land and the sea. Let's see. There's also going to be other types of insects as well. Let's keep going with the sources. Anything that doesn't have the fins and scales, again, lo tochelu, do not eat, tameu lachem. You're seeing also a pattern. All of these sources in the Torah are going to build up to how many sins a person is going to transgress by eating just one of these creepy crawling, bug-like insects, or sometimes vermin-like insects, depending on what their habitat is, if it's the land or if it's the sea. And we're even going to see the air as well. Let's see, Vayikra Yod Aleph Mem Aleph to Mem Dal. V'kol asheretz hashoretz ala haaretz sheket hu lo ye'achel. Again, another prohibition. Anything that is a sheretz al haaretz, on the land, sheket hu lo ye'achel. Right, you have to distance yourself from it. It has to be out of your realm of thought. Do not eat it. Kol holech al gahon, anything that slithers on its belly. That's like snakes and types of salamanders. V'kol holech al arba ad kol marbe raglaim v'chol hasheretz hashoretz al haaretz lo tochelum ki sheketz hem. As I mentioned, let's say salamander, a lizard, and iguana, all of those things. They have 4 legs as well. It's a problem. Mem Gimal, Al Teshaketsu et Nafshodechem Chosheretz HaShoretz, V'lo Tetameu Behem Nitem Bam. We read that pasuk above. Ki Ani Adonai Elohechem, V'yitkadishtem, V'yitem Kadoshim Kegadosh Ani, V'lo Tetameu et Nafshodechem Chol HaSheretz HaNomes Al Haaretz. Again, further prohibitions. Last one, again, another pasuk that we have is what about flying insects? Those too are not allowed. Also, again, another prohibition, not to eat them. So you see, whether it's land, sea, or air, any of these sheratzim are forbidden to ingest, forbidden to eat. And we need to understand that this is considered a very serious offense, so much so that each time a person is going to ingest something like this, they're going to be, they receive makot. Makot are lashes, very terrible punishment that was given to any negative prohibition that was transgressed in the Torah that has a ma'aseh, that has an action. So as we just proved in our sources, eating the bugs in the land or the sea or the air, it constitutes an isur from the Torah. Now, is there a ma'aseh? Yes, there is an action. Eating is considered an action. So let's go see the Gemara in Masechet Makot, Daf Tet Zayin, which is going. This is very famously known as the sugya of Binita. Binita is a type of aquatic sheretz that we're going to see that that a person is going to contract makot on it. There are machlokot as to what does it also go on the land, etc. But we're going to see we're mostly focused on. We're going to see in the Tosafot that binita is classified as a dag katan. It's a small type of fish. But either way, what the Gemara is focused on is trying, and the reason why I think it's important is we need to impress upon ourselves how much literature is on the bugs and how we need to pay attention to it, because there are many punishments attached. We're not going to get too technical in the Gemara, but I want to read the Gemara and I'll just pick out the highlights for you of what you need to know. This is a Gemara Masechet Makot Daf Tet Zayin Amud Bet. It says v'ha'ochel nevelot utrefot. Anybody who eats unkosher nevela, again we said in terefa, we said terefa is like taraf Yosef, something that was not slaughtered correctly is terefa. Nevela, an animal that is ready to pass away within a year, or a dead carcass. Other things can be come nevela. Also, we have a klal of hatichana aset nevela. If there's meat that mixes with milk in a cooked fashion, that piece becomes a nevela. So look at this category that bugs are put into. Shekasim uremasim. If a person eats nevelot, trefot, shekasim, remasim. Now, what are going to be the punishments? So now let's see what Rav Yehuda says. Amar Rav Yehuda, Haiman de'achal binita debe kerava malkinan le mishum vayikra ayur aleph kaftet, which we saw sheretz hashoretz ala haaretz. Right, it says if a person eats this binita, this animal, he gets malkut because of sheretz hashoretz al haaretz. He does in fact crawl on the land, even though it's aquatic. Hahu de'achal binita debe kerava v'nagde Rav Yehuda. Amar Abaye, achal putita loke arba'a. If a person eats a putita, he receives 4 sets of malkut. What about an animal like a nemala, like an ant? Loke hamesh. Mishum sheretz hashoretz al haaretz. Sir'a loke shesh. And now sir'a is a flying insect. You could add also sheretz ha'of. So again, if we take it step by step, if there's an aquatic animal, you're only going to get 1 set of lashes because it doesn't fulfill the Pesukim, which says all of them sheretz hashoretz al haaretz. Because the binita is just going to be 1 pasuk as a sheretz, but a putita, which is a sheretz of the land, is going to also be lokeh arba'a, and a nemala that also is a creepy crawler. There's an extra pasuk there because it says also again sheretz hashoretz ala haaretz. You're going to add 1; it's going to be 5. Sir'a that flies, you're going to also add 1; that's 6 because of sheretz ha'of. Again, we're going through it fast, but again, there are different levels depending on how many boxes a certain bug checks off of its habitat. You're going to incur more malkut. Amar Rav Ahai Hamashhe Nekavav Oved Mishum Lo Teshaketzu. Very interesting point that I wanted to get to. If a person holds in their urine or their stool from going to the bathroom, you're also violating Lo Teshaketzu, meaning you shouldn't do anything that's disgusting or repulsive, and that's really disgusting and repulsive to your body. You're holding feces and you're holding urine in your body that's damaging to your body. So if a person holds it in, also mashhe et nekavav, he holds it in, he or she is also over al lo teshaketzu. Amar Bibi Amar Bar Abaye, Hai man teshate beqarna teumana ka'avar mishum lo teshaketzu. And again, Amar Rava Bar Rav Huna, Risek Tish'a Nemalim Vehevi Ehad Hai Vehishliman Kezait Loke Shisha Hamisha Mishum Bria Ve'ehad Mishum Kezait Nevela. This is what I wanted to get to. We said, let's say you crushed a bunch of ants together, 9 ants together, and then but they're crushed. And then you brought one live ant together, and you put together with the live ant, it puts it over the top for eating a kezait. Then you're going to get 6 lashes, 5 because of the hamisha mishum bria. One is a bria, means it's an animal that's intact, a bug that is intact and is whole. That in and of itself, you get the 5 lashes, like we said in this Gemara. Nemala, you get 5, and you get another one for eating a kezait of nevela, because we said all of the bugs together, mashed together. If you ate a kezait of them, it's considered nevela. Rava Amar Rabbi Yochanan afidu shnaim vehu Rabbi shnaim vahu, even if it's 2 and a little bit. Rabbi Yosef Amar afidu ahad vahu. They're not fighting. It depends on the measurement of how many kezetot there are and how large the ants are. So I know I sped through that Gemara, but let's pull out what you need to know. What you need to know is that every time it mentions in the Torah that it's forbidden to eat sheretz, a person gets a sin. So you could either get 4, 5, or 6 lashes, depending on if it's also a sheretz that flies, or if it's also a sheretz that walks on the land, or if it's a sheretz that is on the sea. We went in descending order. Next thing that you need to know is that if you eat bugs that are congealed together or taken together, you're going to get lashed only once, because you don't have the form of the actual bug that is whole if you eat a kezait. And we said that is only, again, that's the measure, a kezait. We learned the concept of bria. Bria means a whole animal, even a whole ant, meaning there's no legs missing, the head's not cut off, it's not chopped up. That in and of itself is going to be worth, again, depending on what it is, it could be worth 6 if it's aerial. It would be worth 5 sins. And bria is something that we want to try to avoid. When we're checking salad, when we're checking fruits, we're looking for actual live bugs that are whole, and that's a bria. Each one that a person ingests could be 5 to 6 lavim, depending on where you get it from. So again, very important that Makot went over this, and then we're going to see how that affects halacha l'maaseh. Let's get into any questions on this, because I know we did a lot. Anybody have a question on this? No. Okay, so it looks like it's pretty clear. Let's go to the Tosafot. Binita de bekerava, perush b'kuntres tolat hanimtzet b'kruv. Right, so it says this is according to Rashi. What's a binita? It's a worm. It says v'kashed my kamashmana pshita desheretz gamurhu. What's the question? Why are we even asking about binita? According to the Binutam, binita kimo dag katan. It is a small fish. You would find it in certain areas that was that a person would use for work or grinding. Meaning, since it is not considered meaning the whole chidush, that what's bothering Tosafot. Why did the Gemara have to ask a question about what this animal is? If it's peshita, if it's like Rashi was saying that it's a worm, then it's pashut that it should be not allowed. What's the question? No, because it carries with it the signs of a fish. right, נמצאת במים, דאב גם נמצאת במים, היה מותר, לפי שיש לו קשקשים, אפילו הכי לוקה, אבל גם דאי הווה במים טהור. If this was an aquatic animal fully that would live in the waters exclusively, and it has kaskasim, it has those scales, so it would be mutad. It's not. It looks like a dag katan, but it lives on the land, and therefore, since it's not aquatic, it's going to be a problem. So why did I say aquatic before? Because that's what it says, ke'en dag katan, meaning it's like this little tiny fish, and it could be misconstrued to be aquatic, but we want to stay away from thinking, don't think it's just a worm. It's something that's like this in-between category. But again, that's just Binita. But again, it's important to understand that distinction. Let's get down to the halacha in Shulchan Aruch Yurei De'at Siman Pei Daled Se'ivav. Tola'im, worms, hagedelim baperot, that they grow in a fruit, right? Be'odam b'mechubar, but they're still attached to the tree. Hashuv keshoretz al haaretz. That constitutes that they crawl on the land. Ve'asur, and then it's forbidden. Once they crawl on the land, of course, it's a sheretz and they're forbidden. Aval pi shelo piresh, even though it did not leave the apple. Let's take an apple as a fruit. Ve'hu sherihesh, right? And this means, right, again, this is as long as it right, this is as long as the animal is the fruit is inspected and we wait, right? You can't until he checks the fruit from the inside, because maybe there's a worm in it. וכשמסירים הקליפה מוצאים בחושים תחתיהם מותרים, לפי שהם מונחים במקום צר ולא קרין בו השורץ על הארץ. So basically what Namaran is saying is that if it's something that grows and there's not really a strong, let's say peel or cover, then that fruit is totally not allowed. They're not allowed to be eaten, again, because we're worried that it's going to become, infested, and they're from the outside. But something that is a fruit that is covered with a peel or a shell, and then you open it up and you find something inside, it's mutad. It's as if it's considered part of the animal. Part of the fruit. Keep doing that. Sorry. Because they're not found in a place where they're found in a very narrow place, and it's impossible that they got in from the outside. It must have been that it developed actually almost inside of the fruit. And again, if there's a place for them to exit and enter the fruit, then we say that's a problem, and then that's going to be that's going to be asur for sure. And in Ramah it says Tola'im gedelim b'chmehen upitriot dinan kemo b'shar perot v'lo amrinan de lo hashive mechubar dekarka hoyo ve'en mevarchin alehem b'ore pri adama. It's the same thing goes for mushrooms or in any fruit that's like a fungus, vegetable, if you could say that, right? Really just fungus, because even though it doesn't get its satiation from the ground, it's still going to be asur. פעמים נמצא בפרי כמין נקודה שחורה, והוא במקום שמתחיל התולה להתרקם. צריך ליטול משם בעומק דאסור כמו התולעת עצמה. So if you see that there's like a black spot, and that's the place where the worm usually pierced the hole, you have to take out that whole entire piece. So again, let's summarize. If you have a fruit that grows on the tree, and then you see that there are holes in it, obviously you have to get rid of the holes. You have to look if there's a bug. You have to take away that spot or the place where the bug probably burrowed through. If you have something that has a shell, and then all of a sudden it grows and it's totally encased, and then there's something inside of it, it probably grew around it, and therefore that's going to be mutar. that's not a problem. Any sheretz that leaves the fruit and comes back, also once it left, then it constitutes sheretz hashoretz ala aretz, and then that's a problem, and that's where it gets its sin. That's where we get the sins from, and it's a problem to do that. Okay, now we have based on Shulchan Aruch this nice English paragraph that we just gave some insights that I wrote based on items that we found in the Bet Yosef, etc. So I'll read it. All types of fruit where it is the norm to be wormy while they are attached. Now, like we said, if it's the norm to be wormy and they're attached, he may not eat until he checks the fruit from the inside. Like we said, if they're wormy while they're hanging around and on the outside, you got to open everything up and make sure that it's out. Maybe there's a worm in it. And if the fruit waited after it was picked for 12 months, again, if it's possible, he may eat it without inspection, because any creature that has no bone in it does not survive for 12 months. Once you leave it for 12 months, they're not going to survive. Nevertheless, he needs to check them to throw away the worms that are found between them on the outside or on top of the fruit. Again, anything from the outside, we're more strict on from the inside unless there's a hole. And even after he throws away those that were found on the outside, there is a concern that maybe when he puts them in the water in the pot, they will exit and crawl in the water or in the walls of the pot or on the fruit. Therefore, one who comes to cook after 12 months wormy fruits, he should put them in cold water. The wormy and pierced ones will rise to the top, and afterwards he should then put them in boiling water, so that if a worm remains, it will die immediately. So again, if you rinse it in cold and then boil it, that's going to be mutad. So again, this is a key insight that the poskim are giving us, because now, if anytime you rinse that, that's what we have to do. We always rinse it with cold water and make sure that we're using soap, which we're going to get to. And in those cases, it definitely helps it rise to the top. Now, and especially if you boil it, or you're cooking, let's say, like a puree or like a soup, you're going to definitely you would have washed the fruits beforehand in cold and then boiled them, and then it would be mutad. And it does not help with them if you check the majority. Rather, you must check all of them, because they're a prominent minority, right? You must check all of the fruits that you have in something, and not neglect it. You can't say, oh, well, the majority is okay, but just because the majority are okay, I don't have to check all of them. You must check all of them, because even though it might be the minority, it's a prominent minority. It's like 30-40% of something has it. Now, there are definitely, let's talk about lettuce for a second, just because that's the most common. There are definitely brands of lettuce which are extremely clean. It's very hard to find anything in them, but still, even in those brands, a person has to really check and make sure that everything is okay. So this was just the background. We'll do more sources on it next week. And then next week, we're going to go into a nice chart over here where we do the most common fruits and vegetables and how to check them. Lettuce, kale, asparagus, artichoke, broccoli, cauliflower, spinach, berries, apricots, figs, dates, etc. We're going to do that, and that'll be what we do next week. Any questions on this? Anybody have any questions?
That's exciting. I'm excited for that one next week.
All right, great, Lynn. I'm very excited.
Go through all the details.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, good.
Awesome.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Lynn. Okay, guys. So we will see you next week then.
Thanks, Rabbi.
You got it, Sandy.